So for today's stream, this is going to be pretty short and a little bit to the point. But what I wanted to show is just adjust my microphone here. So what I wanted to show is just a little bit on the material effects. In the last stream, we've done work with implementing the weapon and actually shooting something, colliding with something. This is kind of going to be a little small addendum to that. So let me get right to it. Let's see, jump into game mode. So let me crank up the volume a little bit so you can hear it. So whenever you shoot at something, you know, you get a little decal that gets applied at the point of collision, as well as a noise, or not a noise, but a sound, and a particle effect. I'll also post the link to the material effects documentation in the description of the video. But I was quite confused about how all of this is set up, and hopefully with the help of this video you'll get a better understanding of it. So let's get to it. I'll quickly show you what I had to set up to get this thing going. So there's a few things moving here. So first of all, let's talk about getting the effects in. So in order to do that, you need to be in Assets, and I believe it's under Libs, and then you have Particles. So I've in here I brought in all the particles from Game SDK. They're very useful. Also make sure that along with this they rely on some assets. So under Textures you will need sprites as well from Game SDK. And I believe decals as well, at least for the decals that are placed on the wall. So with that said, that should be pretty much all you need as far as the files. Another one that you need, actually I forgot, it's the audio. So under audio, for now I'm using the SDL mixer. I have pretty much all the files again from the Game SDK SDL mixer. So if you were to go under Tools and open up your audio controls editor, you will notice that, let me see, where do I have that added? It's under Pro. So I have a folder here with bullet impacts, and I have created an audio trigger for bullet concrete impact as well. And the thing you need to do is just hey Oscar, welcome. So the only thing you need to do is just drag and drop this in here for whatever sound you want to use. For this specific trigger, I've added this bullet impact concrete. And then the metal, you'll notice it's metal thick. And I've also have one for explosions. I think this is the one we did last time when we were destroying that little that barrel. So kind of just trying to keep them organized. Okay, so I think that's all as far as the assets that you need for this go. Of course, you have more materials. You will need, to add more of these triggers, as well as, kind of manage your particles and decals. Okay, so once that is set, the fun part comes in. This is, I don't know, I think it's such an old type system that there's probably room to improve, I'm not sure. But the current way this is set up, everything you need is going to be under this material effects directory. And in here, there's a few things to consider. So first of all, you got the FX libs, and this is where all your kind of the collisions XML files are going to be in. So let me open this real quick. So if you notice, we're at collision, and we have an effect name and an audio trigger, bullet impact. This is kind of the example that the templates start off with, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. I mean, it's good to learn, but what I did to keep this organized I've created a footstep and a projectile. So I'm kind of keeping the footsteps collisions separate from the projectile collisions. So let's open up projectiles and let's see, notepad. So here we go. So keep in mind the name of this, projectiles.xml. And in here I have everything related to my projectiles collisions, right? So I have my effect name, bullet concrete hit, and bullet metal hit. And for my concrete, I have an audio trigger, which is the bullet concrete impact. I have my particle, which is also picked up because I've imported those particles from Game SDK. And I have a decal, and that's based on the decals directory. Again, you can put any path, or I mean any effect path in here for your material. Like I said, keep in mind the name of this projectiles.xml. So the fun part comes in once you go to the material effects. Before we do that, let's also take a quick peek at surface types. So surface types is, as far as I can tell, did not have too much to do with, I think it's more related to physics than anything else. I haven't delved into it too much. So for now, we'll just focus on the effects and how those look. So let's get into the kind of the meat of things with this material effects. So I had to read through the documentation a couple of times because I don't really get how this was originally set up. So the thing that I do get is that you need to kind of match on the top header columns and the rows the names of your effects. So for example, and I believe this is the surface types. So you'll see that I have material concrete, metal, bullet, and in here, because these are actually the surface types that show in your material drop down. So that's what you need. So you have, like you see, material concrete, I have that here, metal, bullet, concrete, metal, bullet. So now, if you remember, we had those files in fxlibs. We had those names as collision, footstep, and projectiles. So if you look here, you'll notice that all these files are going to get picked up from this fxlibs directory. So whatever's before the colon is the name of the file. So you're looking at, we were working with bullets, so my material bullet is going to be on the projectiles, and then based on the column is material concrete, so bullet concrete hit. Then if you move into metal, bullet metal hit. And then I believe this is if two bullets will collide with each other, it's probably, will be taking care of this. But we mostly care about the projectiles bullet metal hit and the projectiles bullet concrete hit. So hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, I'll post the link to the documentation in the description of the video once I post it to YouTube. But this was, like I said, it was pretty confusing to me, and hopefully kind of showing it in a video hopefully makes a little bit more sense. So like I said, I had to make sure that I'm matching the columns here with the rows. So that's kind of like the meat of things, and I think this is the more complicated file to kind of wrap your head around, this material effects XML. At least it was for me. Okay, so let's close out of that. And just to kind of give a quick example of how this works. So for now, we have everything working fine as far as colliding with, actually, let me show you this material here is, this is concrete. But if I was to change this, actually I think I have, from the last streams, I have this barrel here. And I believe this is metal, or at least it should. So this is metal. So let's try firing some shots at it and see if we get anything going on. And we'll try and set up at least a particle. So let's see if I can land a hit, because if you remember, we've had this weapon kind of attached to the bone, so depending on how the animation moves, it's kind of tough to control it sometimes. Oh, there we go. I was able to hit that. So if you can hear, there's a metal sound to it, but there's no effect, right? So let's try adding that as a quick test. Let me delete this. This is the plugin for the Voids, which is a pretty useful plugin. You can find it on the marketplace for free. So let's add that to our particle projectiles XML file. So if you look at how bullet concrete hit was set up, we have the audio trigger already in there. Let's get a particle and a decal. So let's add these in here. You just need to copy and paste them. So let's save that. And now the collision particle, apparently I was using the same for um, concrete collisions, small metal. And I think I'll stick to that. I mean, it's let's actually look for something else for this decal. So just to kind of give it a little bit of a change. So let's see, what do we have in materials, decals, and metal. So I think we can use this maybe bullet decal. So bullet decal. So let's take a look at the path here. So we have materials, decals, metal, and then bullet decal. I think that's it. Okay, so there's that. And maybe we can do something else about the particles since we're here. Let's take a look at what do we have in our libs and particles. And let's look for, I'm wondering if there was something kind of metal related. I'm wondering weapon effects. So let's take a look and see if there's anything in here. That's a grenade. Let's look for metal. See if we can find something that's a little bit more conclusive. Not so much. Let's see if we can look at in our database view and try and open our particles. And let's open this up. So let's try collisions. I think that's where I looked in the last time. So collision shells, doesn't really seem like metal. That could be something. So this is just underscore metal. So let's try doing that. So I'm gonna do in my projectiles, we have collisions. We're in the right group. And then small, yeah, actually I was already using that. But let's try and change this one to metal concrete, because it's, so at least hopefully we get some differentiation between them. One thing that I ran into, and I believe it's either that I have to restart the engine for that file to get read again, or so let's try doing that and see if we get any changes. There we go, there's that. So let's see if yeah, so if you can tell, the particle is definitely different. It wasn't that dark. That darker smoke should be now on the, let's see if we can, there we go. So as you can tell, there's a different particle on, and this is, I need to not attach this to a bone. There's a different particle happening when you hit the metal versus when you hit the wall. So that was pretty much it. I know it's a kind of a shorter video for today, but this was, I wouldn't say a pain point, but it was a little bit hard for me to wrap my head around how all these files work together. So hopefully it makes more sense to you. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments of the video once it's on YouTube, and hopefully I can give you some pointers. Again, oh yeah, good point, Oscar. So yeah, Oscar is mentioning to stack a couple of barrels on top of each other, so that would be a little bit easier to hit. So let's quickly do that and give that a try. I think that might be good like that. So let's jump into game mode. Yeah, so as you can see, there's that just the particle effect whenever you hit the barrels. So let's take a look at, see if there's like a kind of a splatter type thing when you hit the concrete, and when you hit the barrels, there's just that little puff. So again, that depends entirely on your particles. Of course, for metal, I might use some sparks, but that might require a little bit too much digging, and I don't want to waste you guys' time with that. So, Oscar, thanks so much for stopping by, and everyone, thanks for taking a look at this video. Hopefully it's helpful for you, and until next time, everyone, take care. Bye.